And it helps if it's just under your sitting bones so that your thigh bones are allowed to, like, two different structures, the pelvis and the femurs, right? Just allowing the femurs to settle. So we want a little softening in the front hip. Good, knees together, feet slightly to the outside of the hips. Closing the eyes. Drawing your attention to the placement of your body to start, just to feel how you're resting against the floor with your feet, ankles, lower legs. A different effect through the front line of the lower leg, as well as across the knee, across the thigh. Ideally gentle, but having an impact. And noticing the placement of the pelvis, the weight through the sitting bones. Right side, left side. And noticing the movement through the ribs. Almost feeling the breath can circumnavigate the rib cage, right? Engaging the periphery of the diaphragm, the back, the sides, the front. Feeling a softening in the pelvic floor. Almost relating the movement of the back of the diaphragm to the back of the pelvic floor. And right side of diaphragm to right sitting bone and right side of pelvic floor. Left side of diaphragm, left sitting bone, left side of pelvic floor. And front of rib cage to pubic bone to front of pelvic floor. So as you start to feel that movement through the diaphragm and pelvic floor, just notice how the breath changes. Some softening around the pelvis and within the pelvis, the organs within the pelvis and abdomen. The breath allows a certain soft, subtle, available movement for the organs and the soft tissues inside, the connective tissue inside. And then opening your awareness to your whole body. Again, as if you could feel just with the inhale and exhale, just a sense of awakeness, alertness, and softness and ease. Hands, feet, the parts of our body that have the most work and nerve engagement in the brain, the hands, the feet. the mouth, tongue, the eyes. And palms together in front of your heart. And hands on your thighs. So I'm just gonna, little tiny movements. I'm just gonna play with lifting just one knee and maybe using the hand if that feels helpful. Just to lift one knee up just a little bit, just to again get a little bit of space along the front of the shin, ankle, top of foot, toes. And breathing. And then slowly, slowly lower down. Yeah, using the hand is very helpful so there's not overwork in the hip and groin. And then other side, just gently picking up that knee slowly. So you feel how your tissue is responding. You feel resistance, maybe breathing with it, feeling the difference. This ankle feels really different than the other to me. And just breathing, noticing if the toes can actually relax and spread. Maybe not by effort, but by not effort. And then slowly, slowly lay top of the foot down, ankle down, shin down. One more time, other side, lifting. Again, a nice sense of softness. You can even use the other hand just to gently compress the foot. Use thumbs, soft fists. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lower down. And the other side, yeah, it helps to do opposite hand to knee, just so you can use that free hand for a little compression on the bottom of the foot. Again, gently, right? That we don't want to work a lot. And just allowing the weight of my body to sink into the bottom of the foot. Compressing the tissue just enough. Maybe there's a little softening in the top of the foot, tops of the toes. A little more softening in that front of the ankle. Outer foot, inner foot. And then slowly, slowly lower down. Okay, and then I'm just shifting forward, pushing into my shins and feet. Come forward and then curl the toes under. And I am going to stay with my hands on the floor. Just so as I curl the toes under, just rolling, slowly rolling from the tips of the toes onto the toe pads, towards the webbings of the toes. And then I'm just going to let my weight roll out towards the little toe side of the foot. And just feeling the difference, right side, left side, even the difference in each toe. Each toe on each side feels very different. And then rolling the weight towards the center. Towards the center. And then slowly, slowly roll out. Then towards the little toe side of the foot. towards center. Super slow. That same sense of little bit of movement and then drop into the softening in the tissue. Little bit of movement through the bones, softening into the tissue, letting the tissue find a different experience, especially if it's challenging. Taking that time to find more softness. With your breath, with your awareness. Good, and then just shifting the weight forward. Point the toes. So I'm going to take the knees a little wide, child's pose. So I'm letting my kind of outer ribs rest on my thighs. Maybe stack my hands for a moment. Let my head rest on my forehead, rest on my backs of hands. And then walking the hands forward. Elbows off of the floor. Letting the hands spread into the floor. And again, just breathing, allowing that shoulder. Find some opening under the shoulder. Find some softening on the top of the shoulder. And around the shoulder blade. And one more breath here. Nice, slow, steady, full, rich inhale. Slow, steady, full, rich exhale. And then walking the hands back under the shoulders and gently roll yourself up to sit. Okay, I'm going to shift forward again, curl the toes under. So you can use blocks under your hands if you want to just organize the weight differently, right? More weight off of the fingertips. So I'm just going to put a little press into my hands, lift my knees, and I'm going to roll back towards a little squat, but I'm just going to go slow. Again, moving slowly enough to find a different relationship in the bones by allowing the tissue to soften. So again, I'm rolling from toe pads, length of toes to webbing of toe to ball of foot. Allowing right, each toe has a long, right, each toe is 3 bones, except for the big one, it's 2. Then you have these long metatarsals behind, pretty long, maybe 2 inches long. So that relationship between the toe, smaller bones, and that longer bone, but even the relationship between those 5 bones, the spreading, the widening, allowing the bones to almost separate as the tissue softens. And then I'm going to roll just a little weight towards the little toe side of the foot. It's not a big displacement. My knees are inside my arms. And then rolling towards, right across from the little piggy to the one next to it, to the middle piggy, second toe, and then the big toe, or first toe, great toe. Just noticing the effect through the tissue and from front of foot to back of foot and from heel to back of knee. And one more time, rolling towards the
outer foot, slow enough that you can really soften, then move, then soften back, then move, soften back, and move. And one more time, coming towards center. Just visually even noticing the difference, the access in one ankle or one foot. And slowly rolling towards the big toe side of the foot. Okay, and then I'm just going to let a little weight shift forward into my hands as I lift my hips and then slowly lower the heels down. And letting the foot spread. Knees are still bent. Let the head drop. Let the ribs rest on the thighs. Softening your breath. Maybe just a little movement, some yeses and some nos. Right, letting those neck muscles loosen, so the long tubes in the vascular system, bringing blood and taking blood away. And then bend the knees a little more and slowly, slowly round up. Hips get low, back body gets long and wide. Front body starts to roll itself up. Until front body and back body feel balanced. So keeping the feet parallel, just going to play with, we think about the base of the big toe as one point of a shape. We're going to use, we'll think about it, maybe a triangle or a rectangle. So base of big toe, base of little toe. So that length across, if there's an arch, there's one arch along the ball of the foot. Base of little toe, base of big toe, and we'll play with the center of heel as a third point. So we'll start with the triangular shape, and we're just going to roll. So I'm just going to send weight back into the center of the heel. Right heel heavy, really allowing that. I could draw a circle on the bottom of my foot, the center of that circle just sinking into my space, my floor standing space. And then letting the left, same, center of the heel. And noticing the difference. To me, mine feel very different, right to left. The weight through the whole leg feels different. So I'm going to do one leg at a time just because of this. So I'm going to play with going back to that right heel and then just shifting my weight, or I'm going to think about drawing a line from the center of the heel to the little toe, the base of the little toe. And I'm just going to roll my weight from the center of the heel up to that base of the little toe. And my weight will shift forward, and that's fine. And then shifting across from little toe side of the ball of the foot, across the width of the ball of the foot. Again, just the awareness of each metatarsal as it meets the base of the toe. and to the big toe side of the foot. And then following that line from the big toe side of the foot, the base of the big toe back to the center of the heel. And if you can, just letting each point along your journey get heavier into the floor. So we're allowing that inner arch to collapse. We're allowing the bones, the tarsals, back of the foot, right? The calcaneus, the talus, cuneiform, navicular, all of those little bones, smaller bones to move. And then back to the center of the heel. Let's do the left side. So from left center of heel, just a slow journey forward along the outer edge of that triangle. From center of heel to base of little toe. And then from base of little toe across the ball of the foot to the base of the big toe. Good. And then from base of big toe back to the center of the heel. Again, letting each part of your journey sink into the floor. Good. And then let's do both together, right? We did them individually, so we know that they're different. So center of heel, rolling along the outer edge towards the little toe, base of the little toe. And just notice what happens when you do them together. You can feel the difference in my legs becomes more apparent, just how they work. And then from little toe side of the foot across to the fourth toe and to the third toe, the middle toe, second toe next to the big toe, first toe, the big toe. And then along that inner arch, back to the center of the heel. And then maybe just stand for a moment and maybe run a little faster through it. Just that sense of center heel, outer edge of foot, little toe, along the width to the big toe, back to the center of the heel. Good, and we'll try the reverse just because, but it seems to be, or it tends to be a more efficient maneuver, especially in walking, to get that anchoring the outer foot, since we rely on that a lot, and then bring it in, hone it into the inner foot so that we use the outer hips, which we need for balance, that side to side shifting, and then to the big toe, which engages the inseam of the legs, pelvic floors, the center line. Okay, so go center heel up that middle longitudinal arch of the inseam of the foot, base of big toe, right side and left side. Notice how they're different. And then across first toe, second toe, third toe, fourth, fifth toe. More this way. So I'm going to take my right foot, feet parallel. I'm just going to peel the heel or start to bend the right knee and start to just slowly peel the heel up. So the weight is shifting, right? Weight is shifting from back of foot. And I'm taking time to let that midfoot sink into the floor, letting the arch again collapse a little bit. And then slowly roll the weight towards the ball of the foot as the heel gets light. as the heel lifts, as the ball of the foot spreads, as the weight comes onto the ball of the foot. So I still have weight, maybe equal. I have a little bit more on my right foot, just because I'm trying to have an impact, but you play with how much weight feels important. And then coming higher onto the ball of the foot, right from the back of the ball of the foot to the mid, to the front, moving slowly, because it feels interesting and important. And I'm hitting the webbings of the toes. Good, and doing a little extension in the feet. So I'm really challenging that stretch on the bottom surface of the foot. And then I'm just going to slowly peel the webbings of the toes off the floor. So I'm up on my toe pads. And then I'm just going to slowly lift up onto my toe tips. And then I'm going to roll over my toe tips onto my toenails, onto the tops of the toes, towards the webbing of the toes and the dorsal side, top side. And then reverse. And I've gone as far as my foot wants to go right now. So just gently rolling back to toenails, slowly onto toe tips, toe pads, length of toes, webbings, and then rolling. Again, taking as much time as you need, letting those bones displace as the tissue softens. Right, the beauty of the foot is that the structure, like the shape of the bones creates an arch, an arc, but the bones are allowed to deform, right? That we need that spring in the arch of the collapse and reshape, collapse and reshape. And if we fix the arch of the foot, it actually weakens it. And then slowly along the center of the foot, towards the front of the heel, the center of the heel. And then just pause and stand, feel the difference in the two sides. And then switch sides. Right, so I'm bending that left leg, mostly to let more weight land through, right from the heel. So as I roll up through the foot, hitting just in front of the heel, a little further up towards the midfoot, towards the highest point of that arch. Again, we have a few long arches, transverse arches, longitudinal transverse arches. About 4 in the feet. So this is the back transverse arch going across the foot, shifting my weight forward, slowly forward. Again, letting the arch deform a little. Base of ball of foot. Towards center of ball. Towards front ball. And towards webbing of toes. length of toes, toe pads. And slowly rolling up onto the toe tips, over the toe tips onto the toenails. Tops of toes towards the webbings. And even here, you might again shift a little to the little toe side of foot and big toe side of foot. And slowly lifting up onto the toenails, tips of toes, challenging those toes a little bit, and then rolling over onto the toe pads. Length of toes, and again, maybe even here, a little play, little toe side of foot, big toe side of foot. And then ball of foot, little toe side, big toe side. And then slowly back of ball. My knee is bent again, just to let that arch deform a little bit. Stretching those multiple layers of tissue and fascia on the bottom of the foot. And then front of heel, center of heel. And feeling the two sides. Yay. Okay. One more lower leg and then we'll come down to the floor. It's a lot of work to stand. I think it's one of the hardest things to do. That we often find our weaknesses when we stand, or are overworking when we stand. Okay, so I'm making a roll with my blanket. And I am going to stand. I've shifted my blanket so I can put my left foot, one so you guys can see that. So my left foot is on, the front of the foot is on the blanket, the heel is on the floor. And the feet are parallel. Whoop. Good, and maybe my right foot is slightly behind. My roll feels a little high, but I'm just going to stay with it. And you can lower yours if you'd like. So again, I'm just going to play with letting my weight shift towards the big toe side of the foot. And towards the little toe side of the foot. And again, even naming each toe so that you're aware of where you are in your travels from little toe side to big toe side. Good, finding the center point, and I'm going to step that right foot parallel. And if you were parallel, maybe step that right foot forward half an inch. Again, rolling towards big toe side of foot. And little toe side of foot. Maybe even off the outer edge of that little toe. So the inner foot is light, getting into the outer calf. And rolling, slowly rolling onto the little toe, fourth toe, third toe in the middle, second, first toe. And again, maybe rolling to the edge, that outer edge of the big toe. And then slowly back to center. One more step. One more little step. Rolling towards little toe side of foot. You can even let your weight shift with you, right? Let both hips shift to the left. And let your pelvis lead. Or keep your pelvis left and roll through the foot, right? They're just different. One is organizing the weight from above. And keeping the pelvis fixed allows you to organize around the ankle and foot. Good, and then slowly step both feet off your blanket. Just pause, notice. Feels like I'm wearing a high heel on one side. Let's go to the other side. So right foot, the forefoot on your blanket, the heel on the floor, feet parallel. Meaning toes pointing forward. So when we turn the toes out, we tend to favor the little toe side of the leg, little toe, outer thighs, outer hips, which is fine. But we're just going to play with feet parallel. So they're a little more neutral. You're not externally rotating or internally rotating. You're able to access both. Rolling big toe side of foot. And across to little toe side of foot. So from first toe, second toe, third, fourth, fifth, maybe even off to the outer edge of that little toe side of the foot. And then little toe, fourth toe, middle toe, second toe, big toe, and off that inner edge of the toe. Again, nice and slow. Feeling the effect through the tissues of the foot, the back of the lower leg. We have several layers back there. We have our gastroc, our soleus, and 3 other muscles below the soleus, which move our toes. And the underside of the foot, or the outer edge of that little toe, and then across. Fourth toe, third toe, second toe, first toe. A little weight shift forward with the left foot. As you continue moving, inner edge, middle, outer edge. One more step, little step forward. Maybe let the pelvis shift with you. Different load through the tissue. And maybe keeping more weight on that right leg as you negotiate through the ankle, tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges, toes, all the bones in the midfoot, forefoot. And come back to center and step back. Both feet flat on the floor. And just feeling your relationship and your micro negotiations in your feet that support the rest of the body. Do those communications, relationships feel more coherent? What does it highlight in the rest of the body? Okay, so let's start in just a starfish shape. We only have 4 limbs, but well, we have our head. Kind of a starfish. An X shape. Good. And then letting the limbs, legs come a little closer to each other, maybe arms come a little closer to each other. And I'm going to take my left leg. So I'm going to point the toes and I'm just going to let that left hip get heavy and slide the limb, the leg, the foot towards the right leg. And then let's even take that left arm, slide it overhead. And even if the arm hovers above the floor, shoulders still somewhat heavy, limb light, letting that left arm reach towards the right hand, right arm, left leg towards the right leg. So you're in a little bit of a side bend, little crescent moon. Good. And then keep pulling the limbs towards the right, towards each other, and let that roll you onto your side into a little ball. And again, let the roll slow down. So you're rolling over back of shoulder, outer shoulder, even towards the front of the shoulder. And then I'm going to extend left arm and leg away from each other. And they're still going to lean towards that right side as I slowly, slowly lay that left shoulder back, left hip back. Good. Start to extend the right arm and right leg. Come back to that side bend. And then slowly slide that left leg, left arm away from the right side. Right hip gets heavy, right leg gets lighter. So you can slide that foot along the floor towards that left leg. Right arm along the floor towards that left arm. And finding, and maybe all four limbs keep sliding to the left just to find that side bend. And as they keep sliding left, they roll you and across the left hip, across that left shoulder, onto your left side. And then slowly come out, right? Extending that right leg and right arm away from each other. Little bit of a lean of the right shoulder back and the right hip back. Right, I'm still letting my limbs gravitate towards that left side. Left arm straightens, left leg straightens. As the hip and shoulder come closer to the floor, just a different way to come into that side bend. Feeling all of that tissue just slowly long and open. And then right leg, left leg, right arm, left, right leg, come back to this X shape. I'm going to slide again, left hip heavy, left leg slides. This time I'm going to slide towards the right foot. Pick up the left leg, take it across the right leg and reach. This time the left arm is going to stay where it is. So that left leg is reaching away from that left arm as it goes over across the right leg, as if reaching to that right corner of the room. Keep reaching, and I'm just going to slowly let that left leg roll me onto my belly. My arms can be crossed, that's fine. And then maybe just bring that left hand to the floor. Let's just play with this for a moment. Right arms out to the side of that right shoulder, maybe even slightly above. Depends on how it feels when you get there. But left hand flat on the floor, arm bent, elbow up to the ceiling. So I'm going to take that left leg now, slide it to the right leg. Take it up and over the right leg. And slide it towards that lower left corner of the room, away from the left hand. A pretty big stretch through the right side of the chest and arm, through the ribs, through the waist. Good. And then back out, back, left leg crosses over the right leg, and back onto your belly. Let's take that right arm further up towards the ceiling. Left arm up, so we're in a little X. Left leg again travels to the right, over the right, reaching to that left side of the room. And let the left leg pull from the toes. Let the leg follow the toes as you roll back onto your back. And the arms might be crossed and open everything up into an X. Okay, other side. All right. Right hip heavy, right leg travels towards the left leg. Right arm stays where it is. Right leg travels up and over that left leg, reaching towards that bottom left corner. Again, the toes are just reaching away from the fingers. Keep reaching, rolling, back of hip, back of shoulder, outer hip and shoulder, onto the belly. Arms are crossed. And then let's just play with that little front body twist. So right hand to the floor, palm on the floor, elbow up towards the ceiling. Left arm out, straight out to the side or slightly up. Again, you may move it as you feel the stretch. Lower, higher. Right leg slides towards the left leg, up and over the left leg. Reaching towards that back. Back, left, lower. Sorry, right corner. That's what happens when you're turned around and upside down. And feeling that stretch across the left chest and through the waist. And your reach determines how much you want to feel or how little. And feel isn't as important as what you find, the relationships. Right leg crosses over the left leg, comes onto the floor, finding a little X, arms, legs just a little distance apart. And again, right leg slides to the left, over the left. Right leg is going to lead us. It's going to lead the leg, lead the pelvis. Rolling pelvis and ribs. And come back onto your back. Good. And release your arms. Bend your knees. Good. Just for a moment with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Arms somewhat alongside the body. Just feeling the weight in your feet. And the weight in your pelvis. So we've done a lot of sensory stimulation, right? Waking up the proprioceptors, mechanoreceptors, right? The awareness, right? Proprioceptors, where we are in relationship to other parts of ourselves. So in this place, as you feel your right foot settle and you feel where the weight is on the foot. Right, distinguishing, is it outer foot, outer heel, inner heel, back of heel, front of heel? Where on the ball of the foot? Which toes are heavy, which toes are light? And there's no right answer. But noticing then the right hip and the right foot. The shape made on the floor by the right hip. Maybe even take it further up, right side of the rib cage. Where on the ribs is the heaviest point? And then left foot, same thing. Where is the weight? Inner heel, outer heel. Where on the ball of the foot? Which toes are light? Which toes are heavy? Shape of the back of the pelvis. And maybe notice a difference from the right side to the left side. That how we move in our body ideally can't be the same right to left, but we need our asymmetry to help us move, right? That we move contralaterally, that we need that asymmetry to a certain extent. Shape of ribs. Even noticing the weight in the head. Is there more weight towards one side? Again, just noticing. Nothing to change. Just deepening our awareness of how we move, how we sense ourselves. Straightening that right leg, straightening that left leg. Palms can be up or down, close to the body, further out, or on the body. Just feeling that gentle movement created by your breath through your body. Allowing the legs to settle. And even bringing special attention to the toes, the tips of the toes, the space between the toes, the webbings, the outer perimeter of the toes, toe pads, the ball of the foot on the bottom, sole of the foot, the top of the foot, the back of the heel, the perimeter of the ankle. How much we utilize the feet, even just offering thanks for all that they do. And then just the awareness of the lower leg, the back, the front, the outer inner surface, the knee, the back of the knee, the top of the knee, the outer surfaces, front of thigh, back of thigh, outer thigh, inner thigh, the back of the right hip, the back of the left hip, the outer right hip, outer left hip, front right, front left, the pubic area, groin, feeling the center line from tailbone to back of head, tissue along the spine, spinal column, the way that it's laying, resting. The ribs that connect to the spine, wrap around lungs and heart, connecting to sternum. With all the tissue connecting pelvis to rib cage, sides, front, the organs within the pelvis, the abdomen. With shoulder blades, collarbones, upper arms, forearms and hands, the back surface, the front surface. That whole top of sternum, throat, front neck, side neck into the back. Jaw, the tongue, cave of the mouth, the teeth, hard palate, the soft palate behind. That relationship mouth to throat, tongue to throat, nasal passages to throat. Eyes, eyes to optic nerve, eyes in their relationship to the base of the brain. The brain, the skull, the scalp. Softening where you can soften. Softening around the busyness, the mind, the eyes, the awareness. Some subtle movement in fingers and toes, arms and legs. Gently roll to your side and up to sit. Arms together in front of your heart. Again, just acknowledging the fullness of your body and all that that means. Cells that make tissues, tissues that make organs, muscles, bones. The connectedness of all of your parts and their relationship to the mind, the emotions, the breath. And let's finish with one Om. Om.